everyone. Thanks for logging on. We're going to give it another couple minutes for more folks to join and get started in a couple minutes. Hi, everyone. It's 2:02, so we are going to go ahead and get started to make sure we have as much time for our presenter as possible. So I just wanted to go ahead and say welcome, everyone, to our next webinar in the Countdown to Portland, a National Training Institute webinar series. Today, we are talking about internet safety and warning signs of online grooming. And if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you very much. We just want to start off with a bit of housekeeping. Just so everyone is aware, this webinar is being recorded and it will be shared to our YouTube page and with attendees in the next week or so after the webinar. If you are having any technical issues, please send a private chat message to Dashiell Coleman, which you can find below. Third, we are unable to provide attendance certificates or CEU credits for these webinars. Next, if you need captioning, it is available through Zoom. On the bottom of your screen, you will see a button that says Show Captions. You can just go ahead and click on that, and you should see captions at the bottom of your screen. And then lastly, all questions will be addressed through the Q&A box. So on the bottom of your screen next to the chat, somewhere in that row, you should see something that says Q&A. We do ask that you put all of your questions in that box, and we'll be addressing them throughout the presentation or at the end. We will be unable to monitor the chat for questions. You can obviously feel free to use the chat to chat with one another, but please put all of your questions in the Q&A box. And thank you so much. Before we get started, we did just want to plug that our 2024 National Training Institute is coming up this fall in Portland, Oregon, from September 18th to the 20th. There's over 60 workshop sessions and plenaries, and there are CEU credits available at our National Training Institute. Standard registration is available through August 13th, which you can find by scanning that QR code there. We do still have sponsorship and exhibiting opportunities available, and you can contact National Training Institute at victimsofcrime.org with any questions or issues. Next slide. Before I pass it off to our wonderful presenter, I did just want to provide a quick content warning. Obviously, based on the subject matter of what we'll be discussing today, it's very sensitive and difficult material. So please feel free to step away at any time, take a breath, drink some water. As we said, this presentation is being recorded, so you can always go back and watch whatever you missed. And with that, I'd like to introduce our presenter for today, Nathan Lachine at Evergreen Caregiver Support. And I'm going to pass it over to you, Nathan.
Hello, amazing folks. So my name is Nathan Lachine, and I'm from Evergreen Caregiver Support. We're here to talk today about internet safety and warning signs of online grooming. Something that really is turning into a public health crisis right now is that we are not providing education to our youth to empower them and know what those warning signs are. Up to 95% of all American teens actually say they're on the internet on a daily basis. Some of them are reporting 8 to 10 hours a day of usage. So we know our kids are online. What we're talking about specifically is we need to have a basis. So our kind of first basis of what we're talking about is CSEC. So that's the commercial sexual exploitation of children. And the definition we're using is in front of you. So it just refers to a wide range of crimes and activities involving the sexual abuse and exploitation of children for the financial benefit of any person or in exchange for anything of value. That last part, anything of value, I really want us to think about the digital world now, where in my mind, things of value would be cash, so I could go buy something. Think about though our youth that are online 2, 4, 6 hours a day playing video games. Things of value in the game have value as well and can be utilized for CSEC. So the microtransactions that happen in games, the new skins, the new vehicles, the best armor, all of those things have value. So those fall into the definition of CSEC. So we are utilizing the CSAM definition, so commercial sexual abuse of a minor. So I'm here in Washington State, so I'm giving you the Washington State definition. So in Washington State, sets forth the law on commercial sexual abuse of a minor. So again, that anything of value is what we really need to key into and think about digital values, digital currencies, all of those things. Also think about the ready access. All of us probably right now have what? A cell phone on your phone right now. How many cash sending apps do you have? How many programs do you have that you could send money without having to actually physically meet up with somebody, right? So, provides anything of value to a minor or third person for compensation of engaging in sexual conduct with a person, provides or agrees to provide anything of value to the minor or a third person, and then solicits, offers, or requests to engage in sexual conduct with a minor in return for anything of value. Right? And Washington State specifically actually calls out in our RCW is that it's not a defense to this crime for a defendant to show that the minor consented. Right? Minors cannot consent to sex with adults. Sextortion. So I'm sure a lot of us have heard this on the news. We've seen a lot more news stories, is that we're actually seeing this is one of the primary pathways that are used to generate CSAM, child sexual abuse materials. And sextortion is the term that we have given it when a minor is being blackmailed or extorted, hence the term sextortion, into providing more graphic pictures or videos. So this is where a youth has already sent pictures or videos. Then the person says, listen, Susie, if you do not send me more pictures, I'm going to post these to your school's website, to the social media, to any of those kind of things. So they're being extorted to provide more materials, hence the term sextortion. So this is a definition. Department of Justice defines sextortion as a criminal act and a form of sexual exploitation. It involves coercing a minor using or threatening to use images or videos previously obtained to demand additional images and videos that are sexual in nature. As we go through this presentation, one of the stats that we will talk about is that when a victim does agree to send more pictures, the pictures and the demands become more frequent, become more graphic, and become more often. Crowdsourcing by child exploiters is something relatively new. With the power of the internet, right, we're able to collaborate with one another across the entire world. Unfortunately, child exploiters have learned this as well. You have organizations that will actually get together and form groups where they will educate and empower child exploiters to be more efficient at what they do, to avoid detection, to even providing links to download the software, right? All of this information is being shared by child abusers online so that they can better their game and their chances of actually being able to get new victims and victimize current ones. You will even have exploiters that will get together and you might have one target child has 4, 5, 6, 7 exploiters going after them at the same time. The exploiters then get together on discussion boards, emails, and will then exchange information. Well, what did the kid say to you when you asked this question? How did this approach go? How did this information go when you sent this? So the power of the internet is being harnessed for nefarious reasons, and we are not talking to our kids about internet safety. Newest kind of form of child exploitation is the live streaming of the actual assault. So, live streaming of sexual assault is incredibly difficult for law enforcement to one, catch, and then two, to trace, because it is literally just happening right then and there. And then it's not saved in a lot of cases, or it's saved on third party dark web servers that law enforcement does not have access to. So we have several versions of the live streaming that it can be. It can be the child has been coerced into creating those imageries in that video session. We also have where the child is being abused by a perpetrator that are online and giving them direction. This is what you're supposed to do. Or you also have, unfortunately, where the person being victimized has a perpetrator there in the physical world and is live streaming the exploitation as it's happening. So what are we talking about when we talk about the web and the dark web and all of these things? Well, roughly what all of us kind of see and perceive to be the World Wide Web, it's only about 4% of the internet. So that's where you can go to news websites. That's where you can go to your sports websites, right? All of those things, school websites, Facebook, those kind of things. Those are all publicly accessible websites. Then roughly 90% of the internet is actually what's called the deep web. So that's where things are not indexed by search engines. Sounds like a fancy term. All it means is that that search engine is not reviewing that website. So you can't access that information. It's usually password protected, which is why that search engine isn't able to access it. Like our bank accounts, like our health information, right? All of those things are password protected. They're not indexed by a search engine. Now, what some of us have heard of are the dark web. The dark web, we're not going to get into the specifics of it, but the dark web basically is utilized the same as that. It's not indexable by search engines. To go to a website on the dark web, you have to have special programs. You have to have a little bit higher level of computer knowledge to navigate it. And then you also have to know the specific address of that website you're trying to go to. So where if you go to my website, you can type in the search bar evergreencaregiversupport.org, the website comes up. That website is actually has what's called IP, and that's Internet Protocol. So the actual website is 123.56.3.7, right? None of us are going to remember those numbers. That's why search engines and the World Wide Web are public and make it easy to find my website. On the dark web, you would have to know that IP address. So not only can you not search for it, unless you actually know of this website address, how would you ever find it? And that's where that anonymity for the dark web is. So if you ever hear any of your kids or your clients talking about Tor or Onion, those are specific programs and protocols that are used on the dark web. That's a huge red flag of why is a 12-year-old going on the dark web? Why is a 16-year-old going on the dark web? What are they doing? Are they just downloading games, movies, or is something else going on? So the FBI actually estimates that at any given time, there's roughly 500,000 online perpetrators active each and every day. Just let that sink in. 500,000 perpetrators online every day. And that's just an estimate. They are out there. They are using the internet for nefarious reasons. Are you talking to your kids about what information they can provide, what information they can't provide? Right? So just from 2019 to 2020, NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, saw a 97% increase in online enticement reports. Now, these are just what are reported to NCMEC. So these are going to be incredibly underestimated because we don't have good, accurate data, because a lot of kids and a lot of parents will delete and block when a perpetrator is approaching those kids. So they never get reported. We literally are just giving a free education to online perpetrators when we're not reporting them. So everybody wants newest numbers. Here we go. Look at that. 2023, 36 million. 36 million reports of suspected online exploitation were reported to NCMEC. That is astounding. That represents from 2020 to 2023 a 60% increase in online enticement reports. That is just astounding. And yet we are still not having these conversations with our kids. Why is that? So a cyber tip line is what NCMEC utilizes. It's a free and available to all of us. And they had the 36 million reports just last year alone. What do we think 2024 is going to be? So off to the left is the reports by service providers. So I just grabbed some of the biggest ones that most of us would know about. And again, these are only what they have self-reported and been reported to NCMEC. 17 million reports just on Facebook, Instagram, Snap, Twitter, X, right? Look at those numbers. And this is just what's self-reported. So in the slide deck, we'll have the link if you'd want to download and read the entire report and see which service providers had the most and the least reports. Again, here's what we're taking a look at. We want to do a huge breakdown. So when I pulled some of the data out of this is roughly 50% of the victims of online exploitation are between the ages of 12 and 15. Let me repeat that. Average ages are between 12 and 15. Think about how young are we allowing kids to be on the internet? We know perpetrators are opportunistic. We have opened Pandora's box, right? We have given them more opportunities to perpetrate than has ever existed before, right? Any of us that would take our kids out to the park and have random strangers talking to our kids, we would be talking with them. We would be keeping our kids away from them. We'd be educating our kids on why we don't talk to strangers. But yet with the internet, how many kids have internet access in their rooms? How many of these strangers are talking to the kids in your house and in the child's bedroom? One study in 2020 found that 78% of the victims had self-identified as being female, 13% of victims were male, 9% of the genders were unknown. Again, these are very skewed in our culture. We don't see men and boys as victims. So that self-reported number is going to be pretty low at that 13%. What we do know from other studies is that males are more likely to exchange pictures and videos for something of value, and LGBTQI plus youth and trans youth, gender fluid youth, are at the highest risks for the CSAM, sextortion, and trafficking.
Hey, Nathan, there were just a couple of questions real quick.
Sure. Please.
The first one was, is CSEC a new term for child human sex trafficking?
CSEC, no, that's been the kind of established term for about a decade plus. So CSAM is a new term, though, that child sexual abuse material that replaces the term child pornography. So anytime we're talking about CSAM, that's just replacement of the old term child pornography.
Thank you. And then there was another question that, and we can address this later if it's not super pertinent, but there was a question saying, hasn't Meta recently changed how they're going to be reporting CSAM?
That's a little more in-depth kind of conversation. So that person I'd love to talk maybe after the presentation. So this is the partnership that about 200-300 organizations have with NCMEC specifically, and that's their reporting requirements. How Meta chooses to report to law enforcement, that's on Meta as well. So there is a lot of laws that are being looked at on how Meta and other providers can report these materials, and actually what happens once those reports are made.
Thank you. And then last one, there was a question regarding how do they land on these numbers for estimated guesses, if you happen to know?
For which, did they happen to say which number, like the FBI's estimates of the 500,000, or?
There wasn't a specific mention, but I believe it came after maybe NCMEC's numbers.
Sure. So those are actual hard numbers from NCMEC that was actually reported to them. So NCMEC is the federal clearinghouse in the United States for all of the suspected CSAM materials. It gets reported to them so they can help partner with law enforcement across all states. So that 36 million is actually a hard number that we do know to be pretty truthful. The challenge that we have and why we still say it's just an estimate or an underreported is because most youth and parents that have been approached First thing they do is usually block, they delete, and it doesn't get reported out of fear and embarrassment.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. And I'm going to disappear again.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So what we do know, unfortunately, is that victims that are trafficked online. 3 out of 4 victims. This is an older stat. I would actually say it's probably even higher than 3 out of 4. Unfortunately, victims are trafficked across all platforms. So any of the online dating sites, any of the hookup apps, all of those things, you will find, unfortunately, minors that are being trafficked. So roughly in this study, 75% of youth were actually willing to share information for in exchange for something of value. So I've actually done consulting work, and I've worked with families that the kids have actually given out their addresses because a perpetrator said, "Oh, you said you were hungry. I'll Uber eat you a pizza. I'll DoorDash you some Chinese food." And the kids actually gave out their address and not thinking anything of it. 1 in 25 youth have received an online sexual solicitation in which the solicitor tried to make offline contact. We do see that offline contact happens, but what we are really seeing is that these perpetrators geographically are not located next or near to the kids. And what they're really going for is more CSAM materials and looking to virtually abuse a child. And then 60% of online sexual abuse cases, the perpetrator met the victim through social media. Just think about video games right now. The video platforms, they're all designed for connectedness, right? If you play one video game on Nintendo or Microsoft or PlayStation, right, your username follows you through those different games. So that interconnectedness, how many kids use the same name on their social media platforms? So if I know a kid's name in a game, can I potentially find them on social media? Or has the kid posted about their achievements on their social media, which then enable me to look for that, right? That interconnectedness of the internet is what is making our kids so vulnerable. Now, this is one of the first ones I've been able to find some good hard numbers. The unfortunate thing is human trafficking is actually a $244 billion global industry. Just let that sink in. $244 billion global industry, roughly involving over 100,000 children just in the United States. After drug trafficking and counterfeiting is the world's most profitable criminal activity. And then in this one, the study actually came out of California, is that it's estimated that an exploiter may earn as much as $650,000 in a year by exploiting as few as 4 children. 4 children can generate up to $650,000 a year to an exploiter. Think about our culture. How does our culture respond to male victimization, to toxic masculinity? Unfortunately, this is what we found. So pimps used to be incredibly glorified on social media, and they actually had to start removing that term to be tagged. Think about pimp my ride. Think about pimp my life, pimp my house. All of these things, there's a glorification of what a pimp is. Think about what is glorified in music genres, right? A pimp is somebody who is trafficking, physically, sexually, emotionally abusing victims. Why are we glorifying that in songs and movies and TV shows? Right? So our language has power. What I want us to think about when we talk is it's not just how we respond to our victims, the way we talk about it, the way it gets posted in our media. So in this little GIF image, it said a man charged for having inappropriate sexual relations with a 13-year-old. Actuality was sexually assaulting a 13-year-old. That's what truly was happening. But the first way it was posted sounds different, right? How we respond and how we post in our media can impact, do survivors feel comfortable to come forward? So now we get into what this looks like. So youth have no idea who they're talking to. A lot of times they think they're talking to other kids. How do we truly know? We don't. Neither do our kids, right? Just because they're playing the video games with the other person doesn't mean anything. I get a lot of parents who are like, "Oh, we've got all this great filtering software. We catch these things. So if our kid puts in the term sex, SEX, it's going to alert us, it's going to block." Okay, well, what if the youth is using emojis? What emojis are, what's on your screen, every single one of these emojis is a sexual act or a body part. So Yes, you have filtering software. Yes, it's keyworded. Is it picking up emojis? Right? So each one of these things, and I can guarantee you, if your kids are sending out a whole bunch of eggplant and peaches, they're not looking to eat their fruits and vegetables. Right? Each one of these is a sexual act or body part that somebody could be asking your kid to send or discuss. When we rely totally on technology, we're not doing our job. We need to educate and empower on the whys of what's going on with the internet. Why is this unsafe? Don't rely on your technology and your filtering software to keep your kids and your family safe. So the first step is going to be that information gathering aspect. What they're going to be doing is looking for these kind of information. Kid's name, address, school. Think about how much information's on your Facebook, on your social media platforms, right? I know a lot of people go, oh, I keep my kid's stuff is locked down. It's very hard to see anything. Great. What about your website? What about your Facebook? Oh, I never thought about that as a caregiver, as a parent. Okay. What about your LinkedIn profile, right? How much information is just out there about the kid directly and then everybody in that kid's orbit, right? They might start asking questions like, does your parent check your phone? Where's your device is located, right? Those kind of things. Then what they might start also doing is looking at like your kids' social media might be on lockdown. What about their friends that are tagging them into pictures? They got tagged into a sports game that they went to at their middle school or at their high school. They got tagged into team photos. All of those things can still show up, right? It's not just our kids' social media we need to be thinking about. It's about everybody that's also part of their social media life. How safe is that information out there? I guarantee you, take a look at your kids' social medias, look at what they're sharing. I bet you'd be shocked. I bet you if you ask them, has anybody ever approached them? Either they or their friends, one of their friends have had somebody approach them online. Right? Remember, average age is between 12 and 15. So what we start to see is we start to see the building of this friendship. So a lot of our kids' social media cred or credit, having a million likes, having a whole bunch of friends, having a whole bunch of shares, right? That's really important to our kids. So teens will actually self-report. They will literally wake up in the middle of the night to check their social media content, see how many new followers, how many shares, how many likes they have. So building of this friendship is what you will see that perpetrators will do. While they're building that friendship, they're also learning more of who might be these kids' friends, who might this kid be hanging out with virtually because I see the same person liking or commenting on things. I get to see what other games this kid plays. So all of that information is just free and readily available to perpetrators because we're not locking down our social media accounts online. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to run through this picture. Probably all of us would agree this is probably a harmless picture, right? It's a safe picture. It's a G-rated picture. There's nothing inappropriate about it. So if this kid sent this picture, how much information would a perpetrator be able to gain from one picture? Well, let's run through this together. So we'd be able to identify sports like soccer. Look, we have trophies up there. Those might be generic trophies that might not have the kid's name on them. But what if they say this county's Little League tournament for this year? Or what if it says the team name on it, right? That's all identifiable information. I purposely have a blurred picture. So remember now, 10 meg, 20 meg, 30 meg, 40 meg quality pictures on cell phones is pretty common. So you would actually be able to zoom in on these details. This picture is blurry on purpose. Knowing the games that this kid plays, right? There's probably a dozen video games up there. Why is that a concern? Well, that's a dozen different attempts a perpetrator can make, right? They approach a kid in one game. The kid is like, oh, go away, blocks and deletes them. Perpetrator registers another free game account, follows the kid to the next game, right? How many opportunities has that perpetrator been given by knowing each game this kid plays? Knowing what books this kid reads provides opportunity as well. Oh, I just finished the last Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I can't wait for part 2. Oh, dude, me too. It's such cool, right? It's just giving opportunity to perpetrators to learn more about your kids' likes, dislikes, and interests. So glasses could indicate the kid should be wearing glasses, isn't wearing glasses, right? Again, just another N. Number 14, how many of us played sports, right? When I played sports, I was in a small town If myself and my younger siblings couldn't get the specific jersey numbers they wanted, they wouldn't play on teams. Having that number, knowing what county this kid plays in, is more than enough for you to do an internet search and find out this kid's information, right? There's great apps out there. My nephew plays tournament baseball. You can download an app and I can actually watch free live streams of the game. There's parents that take pictures and video. There's parents that actually record the play-by-plays, all of that. All I need to access that is know the kid's name, jersey number, and team name. How easy out of from the information just in this picture would it be to find out all that information and now get free live streaming of the kid playing baseball? We now know the kid's name is Lucas, right? That name board on the bottom, those name boards usually say a lot more information, right? Lucas is a good big brother. Lucas is a good younger brother. Lucas is the best babysitter. Lucas is the best baseball, soccer, right? There could potentially be even more information about Lucas just from that name board. Color scheme. Is that his sports team color scheme? Is that the school color scheme? Right? Again, with how interconnected the internet is, how easy would it be for you to put in these colors and knowing the county, knowing jersey, potential jersey number, rough age of this kid, you'd probably be able to figure out which team this kid plays on, right? Bed, again, just showing it's a small bedroom. Right. So some of the things that other people have called out, the shirt that Lucas is actually wearing is a YMCA shirt. A lot of sports clubs, youth activities will sell club specific shirts. So that says YMCA on the top. What if it says Seattle, Washington on the bottom? Now you know for sure what YMCA this kid goes to. Computer in his room, tablet in his room, right? Those probably means unrestricted, unsupervised access to the internet. The medallions that are hanging up on that corkboard could give you more information, right? So from this one picture, we have arguably gotten at what, 10, 15, 20 pieces of information on Lucas from one picture. Well, let's take a look a little bit more. Lucas sent us this picture. How Lucas sent this picture can give us even more information. So Lucas, when they sent this picture, we got all this additional information. So the center column shows the properties of this file. This is not some super secret software. This is literally just me right-clicking on it and clicking details. That's all it is to get this information of the date it was taken. You're able to know that it was a cell phone that took the picture. Very bottom says GPS coordinates. That's what's the scary part. So from this one picture on the front side, we learned 10, 15, 20 pieces of information. Lucas sent us his picture. By default, most software sends that information. You have to opt in to remove your GPS coordinates. So now with those GPS coordinates, I plug it into a map program that's free, Lucas's house. So we learned between 10 and 20 pieces of information from Lucas sending the picture. We now know where Lucas lives. Take a look. We also know, look, Lucas likes to play soccer. What's right there on the map? A soccer field, right? So we could probably guess, where does Lucas play soccer at? Knowing this much information is why kids will unfortunately usually comply with demands for sextortion. Imagine you've been playing video games with the same person for 3 months. Lucas has sent that picture. Lucas for 3 months has been hours a day with this person. How much additional information has Lucas given away? Knowing Lucas's address, I can then punch it into county records. What's public? Ownership of that house. Now I know potentially Lucas's parents' first and last names. Now I can go search for them on social medias. Now I can go search for them on LinkedIn, right? All of this information. So then when the demand comes in, the sextortion, Lucas, if you don't send me more pictures, you don't send me fill in the blank nudes, whatever it is, I'm going to report you. Lucas might respond with, no, you won't. Screw you. You don't know who I am. Lucas, you live at this address. It's a 2-car garage with a Tesla in there. And I bet you is that your bedroom window right there facing the street? How terrifying would that be for Lucas? Right? From one picture, how much information have we gained? Kids make bad choices, right? Well, guess what? Not just kids make bad choices and give out too much information. Us adults do the same thing. So now imagine this SUV was parked there where that Tesla was parked. How much more information would we be able to learn about Lucas? Oh, well, we know there's a baby. We know that one of the spouses is in the oil field, so probably gone a lot of time. Oh, look, now we know for sure that Lucas plays baseball. Oh, look, Lucas also has a sister who does ballet. Oh, they also have a dog named Max. So back to my previous example, Lucas, if you don't send me more pictures or video, I'm going to come over and steal Max. I'm going to hurt Max or I'm going to kill Max. Right? The relationship with kids and their pets is so powerful that if that perpetrator knows that it's looks like a little Frenchie, the dog's name is Max, how real does that threat feel now? That is how sextortion works, because we give out so much information.
As parents, we're always mindful about what is being posted about our kids online. But what does your vehicle say about your family? Imagine this. A stranger goes to the concession stand and sees a girl wearing the number 21. And he says to her, "Brooke, I know your mom from Sunny State University. There's been an emergency with your dog Jojo. Your brother Skylar is with her, and she has sent me here to pick you up and take you to them." It's a terrifying thought. But as parents, we must always be vigilant about what's being posted about our children.
Another example of how a perpetrator can use readily available information that we are all providing. Right. Next step would be buying that friendship. So this is going to be where they might be sending in-game currencies. They might be buying things for the kids. They might be, in that example, actually sending food to the kids. Think about also how many different delivery services that are available, that the kids could specifically schedule deliveries when caregivers are away, or how many lockers are available now for Amazon, for UPS, right? The kids could literally hit one of these lockers on the way to and from school. How would we as parents know that the kids are getting these additional items? How would you know on your kid's account, if you're not playing video games with them, that they have $200, $300 worth of in-game credit? They have $200, $300 worth of vehicle skins, weapons, right? We have got to think about other digital things of value.
Controls on your child's computer and smartphone are common and something you hear quite a bit about. But what about the Xbox, the Wii, or the PlayStation 2? The FBI estimates there are 750,000 child predators online, and the internet can give them the keys to your house, basically. A gaming device can be a pretty easy way in. Psychiatrists say in the world of gaming, your child might not be so quick to detect danger because of a perception that they're actually interacting with a device and not a person on the other end.
She started saying to me, "Hey, send me a picture of you." And so I did.
They're asking for naked selfies or inappropriate videos. And in worst case scenarios, they're asking to meet the kids.
Investigators say parents who think a child has been contacted inappropriately should report it rather than confronting the perpetrator. Parents need to have their children's passwords for gaming consoles and keep an eye on their history whenever they can.
Just think about that right there. How many of us have kids right now? Why does your kid have 300, 400, 500 friends? I don't even have that on my LinkedIn profile, right? Why would a kid that young have that many online friends? Also, think about all the games are designed to have collaboration, right? When they're team skills, right? You have to be good communication with your team members to achieve this mission, to achieve this goal, get this, right? It all is about collaboration and communication, which perpetrators benefit and utilize against kids. Again, this is how they will get them to go off of these game servers to more nefarious, hard to track, hard to break encryption communication software, because most games require that level of collaboration, right? And teamwork to achieve and to be something in these games. A lot of our kids, their online personas are more important to them than their in real world personas, because I might not be a loser here. I might not have many friends, but when I go online, I've got 300 friends. I have the highest score in this game. I'm the best in this, right? And when perpetrators are willing to spend months and months of daily communication with our kids, they make an assumption it's another kid. They've given out that picture like Lucas did. We learned all of this additional information. And if we had been talking to Lucas for 3 months, how much information has Lucas given away? Next, you have building of the dependency. What this is really going to look like is, again, this might be that Romeo approach that a perpetrator is going to take. Online boyfriends, girlfriends, nobody will understand you like me. You know, old people, parents, they just suck, right? Those kind of things. And they're just really talking and trying to emotionally isolate the kid from their natural resources, which are caregivers, which are their friends, their family, right? That's what a perpetrator is going to do. They're going to keep building that dependency. They might be communicating with your kid every single day. They might respond to your kid throughout the day when they send them messages, right? They're going to make the kids feel important. They're going to make them feel valued. They're building that dependency on them. Now we start getting the control, the requirements. You will be sending me this, or this is going to happen, right? That's how you start seeing this. I thought you loved me. If you loved me, you would do this, right? We're online relationships. I thought this is what we do in the real world. Why aren't we doing it here virtually, right? That's where you start seeing all of this. Well, if you stop doing this, I'll stop talking to you. If this kid has spent almost every single day talking with this person online for months and months, how scary could that really be if that person is the only person that's been consistent in this kid's life, threatens to stop talking to them, right? Some perpetrators will spend 3 months, 6 months, a couple hours before they start asking for inappropriate imagery. So just imagine that this kid, Lucas, has been talking to this person for 3 months. So where is it sextortion happening? Well, primarily social networks in this study. So 54% were social networks, messaging and phone apps was the next, video calls, emails, dating apps, video sharing. What do we know, though, is that the integration, how advanced cell phones are now, you're seeing a lot more of the live streaming and of videos being created because it's so much easier now with technology, right? With a cell phone, you can make high quality pictures and videos, unfortunately, and almost every kid has a cell phone on them, right? I want everybody to understand too is that sextortion and sexting is not just adults perpetrating against children, it's other children perpetrating against other children. So without having to spend more than probably 15 minutes, I was able to find these 6 different news articles here in the United States, right? Without really having to do much search. Are we talking to our kids about why they shouldn't be sending inappropriate pictures to one another? It doesn't matter if you're in a relationship with a person, you shouldn't be sending these pictures. Here's some of the consequences that can come because of it, right? We have to educate our kids because they don't think about what could that long-term consequence be. What if I break up with this person? What are they going to do with that picture? What are they going to do with that video? Right? Some of these were involving 5, 10, 20 students. That one at the top, Colorado High School, there was over at least 100 students in the town had nude pictures. Right? So sextortion by the numbers in this study, 1 in 4 victims were actually younger than the age of 13. 47% of the victims were experiencing daily threats. Almost 50% of them were saying daily they were being threatened. 45% of victims said that their offender didn't stop contacting them even after being blocked. Well, the offender has all that information about Lucas. Lucas blocked him on this game. Now the offender goes to the next game and makes another free account and approaches Lucas again. Lucas blocks. Now they just keep repeating that cycle. 62% of victims complied with their offender's demands. Just let that sink in. 62% of victims complied with the demands. 68% of those that complied said it only made things worse. 68% of respondents said they didn't report out of fear of getting in trouble. 1 in 3 victims never told anyone, right? These are the hidden victims of the internet. These are astounding statistics, especially that 1 in 3 never told. We'll never truly know how many victims have been sextorted because there's so much shame and embarrassment. We know when they comply with the perpetrator's demands, the demands become more frequent and they become more graphic in nature. Right? These last two statistics are just astounding. So a perpetrator, lifetime perpetration victims in the physical realm between 1 and 15. Sextortion offenders have between 1 and 250 victims in their lifetime. Just let that sink in. Between 1 and 250 victims, right? The damage is still done by the internet, by the pictures, by the videos being out there, right? We have still traumatized this child. We have still exploited this child. They are still victims. And yet we spend almost all of our time, what little time we even talk about perpetration, talking about the physical realm. Well, those perpetrators have between 1 and 15 victims. Online perpetrators can have up to 250 victims. Why are we not talking to our kids about internet safety? So I have removed this website's information. This is actually a website that's free and publicly available on the World Wide Web right now. So perpetrators that are going after Lucas might come to a website like this. They will exchange information. They have message boards to talk about how to perpetrate against kids, how to avoid detection, how to bypass filtering software. They have all of that information readily available here. You have perpetrators that do nothing but watch news articles to learn how other perpetrators were apprehended, to try to understand the law enforcement's modalities and technology abilities to prevent perpetrators. They then educate each other. This website even has how to pass backgrounds broken up by different youth organizations to include the Boy Scouts of America. It actually used to tell you what you put on your application, how you answer the questions, how to bypass it. Talks about even attorneys that you should, if you get arrested, this is the attorney that this group would recommend you hire to help get you off. Ages of consent. They talk about even traveling worldwide, where there are lowest ages of consent. And this is a free, publicly available website that's active right now. Not on the dark web. This is on that World Wide Web. Again, just a resource. I'm talking about sextortion. I would highly, highly encourage that everyone who allows their kids to have access to the internet create an internet usage and data usage contract. This is explicit. This is talking about what the kids can say and what they can't say online, what information they can share, what information they can't. Sit down with your kids and you want to write this together. You can download these. These are not created by me. These are 100% free and available. Download a Word version of this so you can edit each one of these. And I would put in there, right, line 11 is we don't talk about this. Line 12 is we don't post pictures of our animals. Line 13 is we don't talk about the city we live in, right? Be very explicit. Once you have that contract, print 3 copies. Everybody signs the copies. The kid gets a copy, you get a copy, and then where all your devices get locked up at night and where your printer is, you post 1 copy of the rules up there. The last thing on this contract needs to state what happens if a kid does go to a website they're not supposed to, or does give out an picture that they're not supposed to. Perpetrators, right? Over 60% of the kids said they've never told anybody. They were afraid they'd get in trouble for it. Tell them this is what would happen if you do, say, give out inappropriate pictures. I want you to come to me so I can help you. You would not be grounded forever because that's, again, what is a perpetrator going to do? Our kids are in crisis. They're being sextorted. And the perpetrator says, well, if you tell your parents, you're going to get in trouble too. You'll never be on the internet. What if this is a kid that spends 4, 6, 8 hours a day on the internet? That's a real scary threat to them, right? So build muscle memory before the crisis of sextortion, right? Build that muscle memory, Here's what our kids can talk about. Here's what they can't. They can always come to you if a crisis happens, if they do something or somebody's scaring them online. Here's what will happen, right? Build that muscle memory with the kids before the crisis. Show them how to make reports online. We should never be the gatekeeper of information. Take your kid to NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's website, and show them the Take It Down tool so they can actually self-report. Because if the kids do not feel comfortable coming to you, we still want the kids to get the help and support, right? So just like us as adults go in for first aid CPR to build muscle memory. So if we ever had to be using compressions and breaths, right, in that crisis, we hope muscle memory will kick in. You'll remember how many compressions. This is the exact same thing. Build that muscle memory for the kids before the crisis happens. So we're going to end here. I want to open up the discussion for the last 8 minutes or so to answer questions that have come in.
Awesome. Let's see. There was a question stating, with poor results after reporting, what is being done to support victims in long-term treatment and prevention care?
Oh, that's $1 million question right now. So what we do know is that when reports are made to NCMEC, what NCMEC will do is they will process it. They have software that uses the DNA footprint of that picture to identify, is this a new victim or is this already previously cataloged CSAM information? From there, it gets forwarded on to law enforcement for investigation. The true challenges are always going to be is that with this being a global crime, how do we address it when we have other countries that do not have reciprocal law agreements with us and Interpol? The best thing we can do, educate and empower our kids. They're going to make choices, give them the knowledge and information to protect themselves.
Thank you. And there was another quick question regarding the number you brought up earlier with the 500,000 perpetrators per day, whether that was US only or if it was worldwide.
That's US specific. So that one was actually from the FBI themselves. The news article, What About the Kid and Playing Online Video Games, actually reported it to be much higher, at up to 600 and 700,000, but I can't find that source. So that's why I quoted the 500,000, because that's actually has the source information in the slide deck for you to review and see how they came up with that figure.
Thank you. And there was, wait, I lost a question. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. There was a question about whether engagement with schools, public specifically, to educate teachers on these crimes would be useful, or if that's being done.
It depends on each state and what their curriculum is. So I would highly recommend that this be added to the sex ed curriculum. As we know, depending on which studies you're looking at, sextortion average was under 13. Some of them are saying 12 to 15. This needs to be included in our elementary, middle, and high school sex education classes, because it is just that critical that our kids have that information to protect themselves.
Absolutely. And another question regarding, do you have any software suggestions for phone or tablet monitoring, or any suggestions on how to dismantle location items that provide GPS info?
So depending on which platform we're using, so Android and Apple both have software within the system. You just go under your settings and you can update it. Each app also, when we download an application, how many of us are reading that 80 pages, right? And usually within it, it tells you that it is sending out your GPS coordinates. You can disable that in most of the apps as well. So it's just that you have to take that time to know what are the apps the kids are using and making sure you disable those. There is a multitude of applications out there that are available to help kind of guide us caregivers and keep our kids safe. I just want to stress that as soon as you think, hey, I've got this great software, our kids can literally go, or a perpetrator can send them to a video sharing platform and type in, how do I bypass this lock? How do I bypass this parental control? And there's usually going to be exact, here's how you can, bypass it. There'll be videos, there'll be walkthroughs. So don't rely on technology. It's all about that education, empowering kids.
Thank you. And there was one more question that was a little bit more specific, but someone asked that if they post pictures of their daughter on Facebook and they know in real life every single one of their Facebook friends, does that lower the risk?
I mean, it's posting information. Once it's out there, it's out there. We lose connection and we lose that control of it. So, okay, I have 100 people on my Facebook. I know all 100 of those people. What if Krista reshares a picture of my kid? What's Krista's friend group like? What's all of Krista's 100 connections, right? And it just kind of spirals from there. That's where it becomes very challenging, that we need to make sure what information we're sharing and what information though is being shared without our knowledge. So just like in that picture example with Lucas thought just sending one random picture isn't a big deal, but from that one random picture, how much information was gained? Now, how much information did Lucas give away with those geotagging data? Right. That's why we have to be very conscientious on telling our kids what they can and can't do online and what they can share. And we need to include, this is why we don't share pictures, because now we know the home, we know the soccer field. What if Lucas sent a couple of more pictures and said something to the perpetrator? Oh, I look so fly on my new clothes or whatever on my way to school. Send me a picture, right? Lucas sends a couple of pictures. The perpetrator would be able to figure out what school, maybe even the walking path Lucas takes to get to school. Great questions, folks.
We do have a couple more minutes. If anyone wants to plug any last minute questions into the Q&A. In the meantime, I do once again want to flag that registration for our annual conference is open and available through our website at victimsofcrime.org/NTI. We do have another webinar coming up at the end of June on labor trafficking, which more information will be shared about that in the coming weeks. I do just want to extend one more thank you to Nathan, and nope, these are both recorded questions, which I'm going to answer real quick. This presentation was recorded and will be shared in an email with all registrants and attendees in the next week or so, including the PowerPoint that Nathan presented today and his contact information. But once again, just wanted to say a huge thank you to Nathan. This is an extremely informative webinar, and we're really appreciative to you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.